Hello, music fans. Welcome to Full Record Jacket with Phil and Ben. We are doing a bit of music news because we like to be up to date and bring you everything that's going on. Not that we actually have any real clue of what's going on. But Ben, do you have any? Because I've got something here. It's going to blow your
No,
mind.
I've got nothing. Apart from AI is ruining music. But apart from that,
Oh, we could
nothing.
talk about that, couldn't we? Yeah, we could talk about AI in a moment, but I'll give you this headline news, okay? There's an album coming out in November, like later this year. You've got to wait till November now. And it's much anticipated. There's been quite a lot of talk about this. It's called Rockstar. Can you think who has made this album?
Sounds like an album by Busted.
It's by someone who's more famous than Busted. Someone who is an international icon and has been for decades. And I'll tell you that this album...
Male or female?
It's female.
Is it going to be your...
No, it's not going to be. No, it's not going to be her. But
is it?
She's on the album. Debbie Harry is a guest on this album, right?
Knew she'd show up somewhere.
Right.
Is there Louise Wenner on it?
No, but the guests on this album is going to include 9 new songs and 21 covers of classic rock songs. Okay.
Is it the young lady from Sonic Youth?
No. Oh. It's someone much, much more famous, a household name superstar. Okay. And it's going to feature John Fogerty is going to be on it.
Creedence Clearwater.
Joan Jett, Steven Tyler from Aerosmith, Pat Benatar, Pink, Ann Wilson from Heart, Debbie Harry, I just mentioned, Steve Perry from Aerosmith, Richie Sambora from Bon Jovi, Sheryl Crow, Emmylou Harris, Ringo Starr and Paul McCartney are going to be on this album. Simon Le Bon from Duran Duran.
Yeah, Duran.
Yeah, and quite a few others. So can you guess who has made this album?
She's female, obviously.
Yeah.
When did she start a career? Give me a rough decade.
Well, in the 60s, I would say. And she was very famous in the 70s onwards. And no, the album's called Rockstar. She's not generally associated with rock music. That's the other.
Oh. Joni Mitchell?
Nope.
Ella Fitzgerald. She's long snuffed it, isn't she? She's pushing up daisies, that girl.
They could have done an electronic, it could have been an AI production, but it's not.
Yeah, and it's not Cilla Black, so it's not Lulu. No. I'm going to kick myself, aren't I? It's obviously not Karen Carpenter.
She's a legend of country.
Oh, Dolly Parton.
Yep.
Thank you very much. In 17.
So that is.
I think my mum saw Dolly Parton in Paris.
Dolly's going to be a rock star. That's the cover. So that's coming out in November. I'm sure you'll be excited by that. Paul and Ringo together, apparently.
Ooh. There we go. Like a bit Dolly. I've got a Dolly Parton box set. Obviously, I brought up on country and western, so Dolly Parton's a big part of my.
Yeah, I thought you might like that.
I've aged. She hasn't. I wonder why.
So, AI, I just mentioned that. There's a really interesting video by Rick Beato, who's one of the music stars of YouTube, isn't he, in terms of talking about music.
He's almost got as big a following as we've got.
Almost as big as us, yeah. Now, Rick Beato is, I don't know his entire history, but he's been a record producer and recording engineer. He's a musician, and he does these really interesting videos, but he's a real... he has real in-depth knowledge of music theory, and he really goes into how songs are structured, that kind of thing. But he did a video the other day. It was only about 15 minutes, but it's quite interesting. All about, we'll put a link to it, but it's all about AI. Now, you've been sending me quite a few AI clips recently.
I have, yeah. And some of them are just odd. Others are quite good. Some of them, I'm like, oh yeah, that could. If I didn't know it was AI and I heard it, I'll be like, oh, when did that happen?
Now, some of these AI, I mean, you sent me some of these Oasis ones where they've basically taken a song that was sung by Noel Gallagher, and the AI has created an artificial Liam voice instead.
Yes.
And then there
Yes.
was one where they took "Don't Look Back in Anger," the original Oasis one, and Noel Gallagher's vocal has been supplanted or enhanced by
George
created
Harrison.
George Harrison, artificial George
Yeah.
Harrison voice, which to me, and the backing is also made to sound more like the Beatles.
Yeah, yeah, which
Um,
I found quite strange in a way.
it was
It's
very weird.
amazing. I mean,
It
it is
made it
amazing.
it made it sound a little bit White Album, didn't it? And
Yes, yeah,
made it sound a bit like "Sexy Sadie" or something off the White Album.
yeah.
But then the voice, well, it didn't quite sound like George Harrison, did it? But you could
No,
tell,
no. And a lot of the Liam ones, it always sounds like early Liam. That sort of,
yeah.
and he's got that slightly angelic wisp to it.
So at the moment, these artificially created voices are kind of like they're kind of like crisp flavors. You kind of know what they're supposed to be, but they don't really taste like the real thing. You know what I mean?
No, roast beef crisps don't taste like roast beef,
No,
do
but
they?
you kind of know that they're supposed to be roast beef, but they're not. And
You've
the same
tricked
with
your
the beef.
brain.
Yeah, so that's how it is at the moment. But the thing is that this is quite scary how much this has progressed, isn't it? That
Oh, what, in the space of sort of 12, 18 months, we're at a stage now where
it's
I'm
unbelievable.
being fooled, which isn't
Well,
hard.
now Giles Martin, who obviously the son of George Martin, who's been doing all these Beatles remixes, did this with Revolver. Peter Jackson, the New Zealand film producer, his team have this AI software which basically pulled apart the original tapes of Revolver, took the audio, and created multi-tracks from something that had been fused together on one track. And I understand the way it works is that the AI starts to recognize individual sounds and is then able to isolate them. So, John Lennon's guitar, it recognizes the sound of John Lennon's
How
guitar
does it know
and
this?
pull it. I don't know, it's very weird.
This is Terminator. This is Skynet getting
So
live.
they basically
We're allowing it
presented,
to happen.
yeah, they basically presented Giles Martin with individual tracks of each individual instrument, which had never existed individually before. So he was able to make a different mix. Now, once they start being able to do that, I mean, I've also seen photographs of old photographs that have been enhanced by AI. Have you seen
Yeah,
any of
yeah,
that? So
yeah. Where the computer learns that the shading of the photo and the lines should be there, and it builds it up from the other side. Yeah,
So
yeah.
you could take a grainy old photo and they could turn it into something that looks a lot sharper and looks like a
They've
photo
done
that
it.
was
I've had
taken.
it done with photos of me where they've taken the photos and made me look less attractive.
Wow, we didn't think it was
I know.
possible,
I didn't
but
think that was possible either.
but yeah, but I mean, this is unbelievable.
Don't know
So
what that is.
they've used it to colorize things as well now, haven't they? Which looks very, black and white film turned into color, and you wouldn't know that it wasn't originally shot in
Yeah,
color.
yeah.
So we're starting to blur the boundary between what's real and what's not real. Now, I know on one level, recorded music has never been real because it is
No,
an
because it's all
it's an
altered
it's an
Yeah,
artificial. Well, the fact you've recorded it onto something and you're playing it back, it is artificial in itself, even if you've not done
yeah.
anything to it. And then obviously there are things that are done
Well, the
in
filters
records
and
now for
everything,
all sorts of
compression.
effects. And then of course
Yeah.
there's all the effects that put on electric guitars and that kind of thing. And now a lot of the time now they do enhance drum sounds now to make up for poor quality recording of drums. They can enhance them and
Yeah.
give them more
I
echo and
suppose
whatever.
I suppose the nearest an analogy I can come up with for it is it's a bit like Cher. You know that it's Cher, but there's a lot of it has been enhanced and altered. You
Yeah,
know,
so
the original is in there somewhere. It's just everything else has been manufactured.
the question is, I mean,
Sorry, Cher.
what they're going to be able to basically make records eventually. It won't be too long if the technology improves. They will be able to make records that sounds exactly like, to all intents and purposes, a dead person has recorded a song that they never actually sang, or that someone has done a song that they never actually recorded.
Well,
Or,
Tupac was still releasing albums about 5 years after he died,
yeah,
so
yeah,
it
but
has happened
it
before.
has happened before, but he actually recorded that stuff, and now it's going to be that they can just
Well,
create it.
did you see the thing with? I think it was a Tupac. I know they've done it with Roy Orbison, where they've done with the holograms. I know they
Yeah,
did
yeah,
it Coachella, I think, with Tupac, and
yeah.
I don't know where the Roy Orbison one was, but they will get to a stage where you'll be at. I mean, a lot of this stuff, Red Dwarf was doing 30 years ago, holograms and all this sort of stuff, and you'll be able to go and see the Beatles play,
Well,
and
they're
it won't
doing
be the
this.
Beatles, but you'll
Well, they're
be able to
doing
go and
this. Yeah,
see.
yeah. They're doing this with ABBA now, aren't they? The
Yeah.
people are going to this ABBA experience thing,
Well,
and
Damon
it's
Albarn must be sitting there going, "Well, Gorillas, hello, we've been doing this for the last 20 years, mate."
yeah.
So, but yeah, we'll be able to go and see the Beatles maybe one day.
What interests me is audio enhancement. How much are they going to be able to enhance something that sounds,
Well, do you know?
poor quality now, a poor quality bootleg? Would say, for
Yeah.
example, would they be able to take a poor quality bootleg of a rock concert
And
where it's
isolate all the sounds so it just.
and change the sound so it sounds like something that was recorded much better?
But would you want? I mean, you take those, I say early Robert Johnson recordings. If you
Yeah,
take the Robert Johnson recordings, you wouldn't want the AI to take out the sound of his fingers going down the fretboard and that slight creaking of the strings,
no, no.
etc.
But
You'd
the AI
hope it would keep that in.
could make it though sound, give it more presence and make it sound like something that was
Yeah,
recorded
yeah.
recently. They could do that with it. Who
I mean,
knows?
that would be good because you do get remakes of films, I suppose, and there's stuff has been remastered for years and years. So maybe to get something like Robert Johnson, say, pull that one out of the hat. And I know people will be going, "Oh man, you can't touch that." It's like you can't remake Casablanca and all that sort of stuff. But if you make it more appealing to the modern ears, then his memory will then live on.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
and
this is it.
it does get to the stage though. It's like with his 4K TV. It gets to the stage where there's too much clarity that my eyes can't keep up with it. These old peepers. So it might get to the stage where they can fiddle with it enough, but you're only going to hear what you're going to hear. So, but yeah, it means if I get to see the Beatles, their light version, then I'll be happy.
Well, you see, they could make the Beatles, and then they could make a Beatles concert that had never really happened. I mean, they could create a completely fake Beatles concert. So, for example, you
Yeah,
could
yeah,
take
yeah.
them. I mean, we've all seen the clips of 1969, the rooftop concert. They could take them at that age, and they could make the computer could artificially create a whole concert, all the songs off the White Album and Abbey Road and stuff they never played live, make a completely fake concert of all this, put them in outfits that they never really wore, perhaps create a fake Beatles at Woodstock, that they never actually did,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
then you won't know what was real or what wasn't real.
Well, you could go see them live, and they
It's
could
just mad.
start off with you could start off with the first album, and as they go through the songs, they're just morphing in front of
Yeah,
you into their
yeah,
older selves.
yeah.
So yeah,
That's good.
I mean,
I can see that the Beatles experience. Oh, that someone's going to do that, man. I'll do it.
yeah. Well, can we patent it now? Before this goes
Suspe-
out, let's
I
patent it.
suspect there may
Let's
be another
copyright that.
organisation that thinks it owns all the ideas and everything to do with that.
Whatever. Who are
Yeah,
they?
I
Who's
think.
them? They're just a faceless organisation. No one's ever seen them. Let's get it done, Phil.
Should we
Imagine that
write to
Paul
them?
McCartney knocking at the door. All right. I don't know why I went Brummie. Paul McCartney's a Brummie. All right, mate. Do you mind if I have the rights for the Beatles experience, please? Because I want to put a show on there for the lads.
But it's all going to depend again on which stars, particularly ones that are no longer around, are they going to? Is there going to be a market for it? Well, we know there's a market for tribute bands of all these artists,
Yeah.
dead and alive.
Yeah.
There are people going to see tribute bands of any major act you
I've
can
seen
think
a
of.
few Led Zeppelin ones, Oasis ones.
Yeah,
I know a couple of guys who are in an Oasis one, and they're from Birmingham. So
so people go to see
but
that. Will they also go to see a show which is being created by AI and is fake, but is actually looks very real? So
but then again, we watch movies, and movies are fake. There's nothing in a
yeah,
movie
yeah,
that's real. You're not watching
no, no.
like it's all acting.
Yeah,
So I mean, I went to see Spitting Image live for my birthday, 21st. You know what I'm saying? And the actors doing the voices, they weren't there. It was all pre-recorded. It's just it was just all the puppeteers just doing what they had to do. And is there any difference seeing that? You're not
Well,
seeing Al Murray and that doing the voices. You just
this is it. So,
watching.
will people care that they're going to see a concert that's not real? Will the market for what we think of as a real concert, where someone's actually performing live in front of you, will that be a niche interest? And most people will just go to these constructed concerts because
Like I
they
said,
have.
the gorilla people have been going to, and I know they do have a live band, but the early days of Gorillaz, I think I remember seeing one. It was just the animation. You could see the sort of band behind the screen, but it was like,
Yeah,
so, and I really did enjoy the 2-pack at Coachella because it made me think, oh God, that'd be brilliant, and the Roy Orbison one.
yeah.
Haven't they done one with Elvis?
They
I'm
did
thinking
Elvis
about
Presley one. They've done that going back some years
Yeah.
back, where it's basically a projection of him.
Yeah.
And the band were a lot of the original his 70s band. They played live, but obviously Elvis's voice was from the recordings and the
I mean, even if they did
video
it
band.
now, like they got Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr on stage and had, a holographic version of John and George there. To be fair, that'd be quite cool. That would be quite sort of.
You'd quite like that, would you, Bowie? But I think they have. What have I heard about? Yeah, well, there was one. I haven't heard this, but there's one where they make Paul McCartney's voice sound younger. So they've taken one of his recent recordings where his voice does sound obviously aged, and they've made it sound like it's being sung by a 60s version of Paul McCartney, which I guess is easier for the AI to do because it is the same person's voice. You're just just changing.
Well, you look
it
at the film, The Irishman, wasn't it? They digitally unaged.
That's right. Robert De Niro and
etc. Yeah.
Joe Pesci were made to look younger than they were.
Well, all this technology, you think about it, 10 years ago would have been, bloody hell, man, that'd be amazing that happened. And now you can download a free app on your phone that takes your face and puts it on a famous film star or a music video. And it's quite seamless, and that's a free app. So imagine what, you can't, you can't trust what the eyes are seeing these days.
You can't. Maybe we won't need to record these videos anymore. We could just imagine them, and then the computer will just invent.
Get 2 AI morons to come on. But
Exactly.
Transformers were right. There's more than meets the eye.
You see, was this video real, or is this actually an AI experiment, or are we even real? We'll have to leave you to ponder that one. But thank you for watching. Join us for another edition of Full Record Jackets and our definitely very artificial intelligences. For now, farewell.